Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new and this is your first time here, welcome. And if you have returned after my previous videos, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your support. So, as I've mentioned in my previous video, I will be telling you guys about my son's health problems after his lungs collapsed and everything that happened thereafter regarding his health. Just so you guys know, he is doing fine and very happy and doing very well in school. And I couldn't ask for a better son than him. He is just my absolute world, and I adore him so much. So let's get right into it. So just before we get started, if the lighting is a bit weird, I do apologize for that. I am in South Africa, as most of you might know, and load shedding is very real. Okay, so just to take you a bit back on what I've mentioned in my previous video, I've been dealing with postpartum depression after my son was born and after his lungs collapsed and everything that happened that I've mentioned previously. So, like I've mentioned before, I was starting to heal very slowly but surely, and things were starting to get much better for me, and which was obviously a very good thing. So then, what happened thereafter was about a few weeks after he was discharged from the NICU. We had to take Liam for eye tests and hearing tests. The eye tests were more because of the oxygen he was on for a while. So they just had to check that he is fine and everything was perfect. His hearing is perfect and everything went well with those tests, which we are very happy about. And we thought, okay, this is now it. It's going to be the last of the stories. So we obviously went home. He was doing very well and he was home with me, but he started with a snotty nose and he had a very bad cough and he was cranky and, it's like a flu sinus infection type of thing. That is what we would normally think. And his eyes were very watery, but nevertheless, nothing we did seemed to help. So we went to pediatricians back and forth, and we finally got to a pediatrician that we felt very comfortable with and who could actually answer the questions that we had. And it basically came to Liam that had a bacterial infection in his lungs, and his body's way of fighting was obviously the snot nose and the coughing, but what scared me most was the high fevers that he got. Till this day, if he gets sick, if something's going to happen um, with his health, then he would normally get a very high fever. Then we know, okay, something's coming. So he got treated for this infection. We had to put him on a variety of asthma pumps for the lungs, especially. He was on antibiotics at a very young age, and we were dealing with this daily. What else can we do? And he finally got better, and we noticed that he started to get rashes. It would be on his back and his arms, and then his feet. So it would one day it would be his back, the next day it would be his stomach, then this and then that. And we thought maybe it can be baby measles. It can basically be anything. Then he was diagnosed with eczema, which we treated with creams and everything, but the rashes got better, but it didn't go away. And we then took him back to the pediatrician because this is now, to us, this is ridiculous. One thing after the other, something is definitely happening. And then the pediatrician asked us a few questions about his eating habits or drinking habits because he was still a newborn baby. And they ran a few tests and it came to him being lactose intolerant. Okay, so now we have the answers for the rashes. So after we found out that he was lactose intolerant, the pediatrician informed us that we should get him a lactose-free milk. I don't know if it's available everywhere, but here in South Africa, the brand that we had to get him was Novalac Aminova. This was the best milk on the market that would help with his condition. And after the appointment, we immediately went to our local Dischem, which is also a pharmacy store here in South Africa. And we got this milk, but it was very expensive. So, obviously, for a newborn baby, drinking milk the whole time before they can start eating solids and eating every 3 to 4 hours, it was really a lot. A box would last us for about a week, and it was only a 400-gram box. So we had to spend a lot of money on this milk and hoping that it would go better. It did. After that, Liam was a breeze. He was, you can see him gain weight again. He was looking well. He was in a good mood, and he actually he was actually starting to be a baby. Trying to find his voice, and it was so adorable seeing him like this and not in agony and being irritated the entire time. But then my husband and I sat and we like, we cannot afford this milk. This is too expensive to pay this amount every single week. We went back to the pediatrician and said, listen, what else can we get? This Novalac Aminova is a very good milk. It is working, but we cannot afford this. So then she said we should go to the one just below that, which is Novalac Alanova, which is about half the price. Okay, this we could do. We can do this every week. It's not a problem. Um, he was doing fine with it. We obviously, before we just took him off the Novalac Aminova, we started to pace him and introduced the new Novalac Alanova to get him used to it and see what the effects are on him, which was great. There were no hiccups. Everything worked out very well. Then another thing happened. Just as we thought things are finally getting better, all the suppliers in South Africa were out of stock of this specific milk. We phoned every pharmacy close to us in the entire Gauteng province. We phoned everyone. We finally got stock in a mall, which there were only 7 boxes left. So we said, listen, we need these boxes. Can you keep it for us? We are on our way. We want all 7 of them. Yes, no, perfect. That's fine. Get to the shop, get the 7 boxes. Now we think, okay, so what is going to happen now? So before this milk runs out, I started to phone the supplier of the Novalac supplier, and they said they are struggling with shipments and they cannot tell me when this milk will be back on the market. So now we are stressed out. What are we going to do now? We cannot go back to where we were. So there are a lot of different types of milk on the market. I do know that, but because of this fear, you don't want to take chances, and because you're a first time mom, I felt what if I make the wrong decision and we put him on a milk that is not going to work for him and we are back to square one. So now we are in this situation, and I tell my husband, okay, so what are we going to do? Because if we can't get this milk anywhere, um, I don't know what we're going to do. So we said, okay, well, we did some research, obviously, and we phoned the pediatrician and said, listen, this is the situation. What do you suggest? This was in a very short time, but this all happened about in a year's time. Okay. So the pediatrician also informed us that from the age 2 years old, we can try to introduce lactose products like yogurts and um, whole milk and stuff like that to see what the reactions are, because then Liam's body would have adapted by now, to see if this is going to be a permanent situation or if this is going to be something that he is going to outgrow. But in this time, he was not 2 years old yet. He was just over 1 year old. And we then started with Isomil, which is a soy based milk. So in the end, everything worked out. And we are obviously very thankful for this, because when you are in this situation, it feels like this is never going to blow over. Everything is just happening, and it's one thing after the other. So we didn't have to give this milk to him all the time because he was already eating solid foods. And the Isomil actually worked very well. We also started to introduce it and then use the Novalac milk and then the Isomil milk. So we incorporated it in such a way that it won't affect him at all. He did very well on that. So we are very thankful for that. He then luckily outgrew this lactose phase, and we started to give him yogurt and whole milk, and he was fine. At this time, Liam was already in daycare. Like I've mentioned in my first video, I do have a full-time job. My husband has a full-time job, and both our parents have full-time jobs. So we had no other option than to put him in a daycare, and he was very happy. He got to socialize with other babies and kids early in his life. And obviously, if you're a mom and or you know someone that has babies and toddlers, they get sick very easily when they are in school or in creche or daycare. So Liam got very sick on a regular basis. He would get sick, we would take him to the doctor, he would be on antibiotics, he would get better. The next month, same story, over and over and over again. By this time, he was just over 2 years old, and the doctor told us, okay, I'm going to write you a recommendation because this is now too much. His immune system and body does not have time to heal before he gets sick again. So they suggested that we get a specialist to check him out. And in the end, we took him to the specialist, and they said we need to remove Liam's tonsils and adenoids. In a way, I was very happy about this because I know that he will do better, even though he never ever had tonsillitis. Apparently, I'm no medical expert, but the way I understand it is the adenoids and the tonsils get infected. And by the age of 2, Liam could not blow his nose yet. So we always had to use one of those nose Fridas to suck out what had to be sucked out. But it didn't always work effectively because you can't get everything out. And like I said, by the time you take him to a doctor, it was already infected, and he had so much going on in his sinuses that the only thing that worked at the time was the antibiotics or the cortisone whichever the doctor prescribed at the time. But when we got a date, it was August of 2001. It was still during the COVID period. We had to take him to the hospital to get the surgery done. And it was, like I said, we were very happy about it because we were hoping that things can just be or just get better after the tonsils and adenoids are removed. But in the same way, it was also very traumatizing. Um, because of COVID, we obviously had to wear masks and we had to do COVID tests before we can actually go in the hospital with him. And only one parent were allowed in the hospital with him. So I went with him and he was asking what is going on, why is he here? And I couldn't tell him, listen, you are going for operation, because I think, not that he would know what it means, but I didn't want to make this situation more traumatizing for him as well. And I just told him, we are going to, the doctor is going to make you feel better so that you don't become so sick anymore. And he actually did understand. And when it was time for, so we had to book in very early, and we were waiting in the room, and there were a few other kids as well. There were 6 beds in the room, and all 6 beds were occupied. And finally, when the porter came to take Liam's bed, I thought they were going to tell me that I have to stay behind, which I don't think it would have gone well. But they told me I can go with up until the waiting area just before the theater. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Now, like, I think most kids would think, oh, this is going to be so awesome. I'm riding on a bed, and the bed has wheels, and this is going to be like a fun ride. But Liam just wanted to be in my arms. So we just walked with the porter. So now we get to the waiting area for the doctor to come. And I think we were waiting for about 10 minutes or so. And this doctor, a very nice and sweet doctor, very, very good with children. So the doctor comes to me and Liam, and he's also got his mask on, and he's got his almost like theater clothing on. And he tells me, so obviously because of COVID, I cannot allow you to come in until Liam is asleep. And he's going to take him. I just have to stay calm and be brave, but I can just wait there. After the surgery, they will bring Liam to me. I'm like, okay, perfect, that's fine. And Liam was clinging to me like a small monkey, didn't let go at all, crying hysterically. It was so, so traumatizing for me because now I give my son to this stranger and he does not know what's going on. So immediately, as I turned my back, I cried every tear that I can. It couldn't stop. Everything just, I bawled my eyes out. As I was waiting there was another mom, and I'm trying to hide the tears. Luckily, I had to wear a mask, so I think most of the tears were hidden. But she comes to me and she said, listen, is this your first child going in? I'm like, yes, it is. And she's like, yes, she knows exactly how I feel. It's her second child that is now currently in theater. She's also now waiting for her child. And she says, I know it's COVID, but can I just give you a hug? And I'm like, yes. And then we embrace each other and we just hug it out. And she's like, you'll be fine. Your son will be fine. Just wait here. Everything will work out. Now I'm trying to pull myself together, and about, let's say about 20 minutes, 25 minutes later, the theater doors open and there was no Liam. It was only the doctor. So I'm like, oh my word, immediately thinking the worst. So he says, everything is fine. The surgery was a success. We could remove the tonsils and the adenoids, but your son is not doing so well with the anesthesia. I'm like, oh my word, okay. He's like, the nurses cannot get him to calm down. We need your help. So now this is the first time that he had anesthesia, and I didn't know what to expect. So I had to sanitize, I had to put on theater clothing, everything, because they couldn't push him out until they can actually monitor him that he's okay. Now, the reason for me saying that is when I got in there, he literally plucked out his drips. Um, it was like he had severe anger issues. It looked like a horror movie. Even when I got to him, I'm like, you are fine, everything's okay, you need to calm down. He actually just told me, you left me. And oh my word, my heart broke into 3 million pieces. And I told him, but you are going to get better now. And I just tried to make the situation positive, feeling like a complete failure. It got so bad that I had to get on the bed and hold him down so that they can put the drip back in his arm. Um, the doctor then listened to his heart and lungs, and they took blood pressure and everything while we were still in that theater room. And the doctor told the nurses that they need to give him some sort of pain medication, but something a bit sedative. And they gave him something, and he immediately calmed down, and he fell asleep. So the porter took us back after this whole rigmarole, and I had to wait for Liam to wake up before they can discharge him. He has to eat a packet of chips and drink some Coke and ice cream as well. So I think he slept for about 2 or 3 hours after the surgery. And the nurses came to me and they said, okay, you can start to wake him up. The anesthesia would have worked out by now. Before you guys can leave the hospital, he needs to eat these items. So I slowly woke him up and he was okay. I thought it's going to be another anger issue developing there, but he was actually okay. And I thought he might cry because of the pain, and he was doing very well. I asked him if he was hungry, and he's yes, he's very hungry. Gave him the chips, he ate everything, and um, he ate some of the ice cream, and then finally we were discharged. Happy that that was all over. It was 2 very rough weeks of recovery, but we made it through it. It was one of the best decisions we've made for our child. He still gets sick now and again, but not as often. And it's more manageable. If you see, here comes a runny nose, we give him over the counter medication and he's fine without even going to a doctor. So, yes, we are very, very happy that we have made that decision. So, health wise, we've had our ups and a lot of downs. I think every household or every parent and every child has their own situation. For me, my situation with my child and his health, it was very bad for me because of the postpartum depression. Um, I wasn't 100% healed or perfectly fine, but I was dealing with it. I could cope daily with it. Um, so, yes, if life throws you lemons, make lemonade, as they would say. So, yes, that is in two videos my story of my son and his health problems and my postpartum depression. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not yet. And once again, thank you so much for my returning viewers and new viewers. I hope that I can inspire someone out there, like I've been inspired, as mentioned in my previous video. You can go watch that video, and I will link that in my description box for you if you want to go watch that regarding my postpartum depression. And in my next video, I will be telling you guys how I've been dealing with the postpartum depression and how I got better. In a nutshell, what is helping me is cleaning. Yes, I will explain a bit more in the next video. But for now, I think my family is starving and I'm going to go make some supper, and I will take you guys along with me. Once again, thank you so much. See you in my next video. Cheerio! What I've made for supper is spaghetti bolognese. I have cut up one onion and browned it in my frying pan. I then added lean beef mince and sauteed that together. I then added buri relish, which is a sweet tomato and onion based sauce. And after that, I've added Worcester sauce and also a packet of spaghetti bolognese cook-in sauce powders. I added the water that was required and I let that simmer until it was ready to dish up.